Well, hello and welcome. It's great to be here, and I'm excited to be sharing with you this afternoon. I have a lot I want to cover with you today. If you have an opportunity, put in the notes. Feel free to put in the notes, in the comments. Where are you? Where are you watching from today? Would love to know where you're watching from today. And if you're watching this on the recording, feel free to fast forward a minute or two just as people filter in. That might save a little time, but we're going to jump right in. What I want to do is sort of go back a little bit and review where we were last week, because last week we talked about understanding where you are with regards to accountability, with regards to where you are in your life today. Because if you're trying to move into the future to a goal, if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know how to get there. And so it's really important to know where we are today to be able to figure out how to get to where it is that we're going. And we talked about using the accountability assessment at amiaccountable.com to figure out where you are today. And in that assessment, we talked about what it measured actually was some specific commitments. And that's what I want to deep dive on today, is to get into those commitments and how they work in our life, how they work in our organizations. Now I see some people coming in, and we're going to take a quick look here. Harjeet, hey, it's good to see you. Tara, welcome in. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, look at that. Ontario. Holy cow. Hopefully the weather's still holding up there late in the summer. And we've got, oh boy, I hope I pronounced this right. You let me know if I don't. Gabriel in Omaha, Nebraska, which my son and daughter-in-law live in Omaha, Nebraska with their 2 children. So if you're in the neighborhood, go by and say hi. Christine, hey, it's great to see you again. Always love to see you. Wonderful. It's great that you're here. Awesome. Okay, so we said last week we need to know where we are if we're going to figure out how to plot the course to where we're going, whether we're building accountability in our life, whether we're just on a path to achieve a goal, a physical goal. And that's all positive, but we have to know where we are. Now, this week, what I want to do is, many of you took the assessment at amiaccountable.com, and you've got your results, and you looked at the results. And what that assessment measured was relational commitments. So here's what I want to do. Let's review real quick. What is accountability? Accountability is keeping your commitments to people. That's what it is, keeping your commitments to people. What's a commitment? A commitment is no matter what, okay? It's no matter what. That's what a commitment is. But now here's the thing. A lot of times we get all of our commitments confused. We get them mixed up. And so we need to get a handle on the commitments as far as what they really are. What is a commitment? A commitment's no matter what, but there's different types of commitments. So let's go to the board. Let's look at this, and let me see if I can bring some clarity in what we're doing. All right. What I want to show you is this. Okay, so commitments. That's what we're talking about, because this is what builds accountability. There's tactical commitments. Now, tactical commitments is all about doing stuff. It's all about doing stuff. So a tactical commitment could be, I'll have that project done for you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I'll pick you up tonight at 6 o'clock. I'll take out the garbage. These are all tactical commitments. And if we make a tactical commitment, we need to keep them. But then there's relational. Now, relational commitments, on the other hand, relational commitments go towards connecting people. 2 different types of commitments. But now here's how this works. Tactical commitments go towards productivity. Okay, now productivity is good. We need to get things done. A lot of times leaders, when they talk about accountability, they're not talking about accountability. They're talking about responsibility. And what they're talking about is getting stuff done. That's productivity. Productivity is not accountability. Productivity is good, but it's not accountability. Now, relational commitments, on the other hand, what they produce is accountability. All right? Relational commitments produce accountability. Accountability, I remember we said productivity is not accountability. All right, but accountability will produce productivity. That's where the power comes in, okay? So, all right, so tactical commitments produce productivity. Productivity does not produce accountability. Like relational commitments, that produces accountability. And when you produce accountability, meaning you inspire accountability in your environment, then what happens is people naturally want to work hard. They naturally want to do more. And so accountability naturally encourages productivity. Okay, let's see. Any questions? And we've look at here. Man, Steph from South Africa is joining in. Thanks, Steph. I'm so excited you're here. That means a lot to me. Steph's an amazing guy. He knows a ton about organizational culture. And here we're getting it's pronounced Jabril. Okay, so I had two ways of pronouncing it. I took a shot and I missed, but now I know. Jabril, great. I'm glad you're here. I'm looking for, Rosalind's looking for an accountability buddy. Yeah, I'm here for you, Rosalind. I'm here. And hey, Brian, it's good that you're here. Look at this from Melville, New York. Vanessa, so glad that you're here. Ken, it's good to see you. Anyway, this is awesome. It's great that all of you are here and you're engaging. If you have questions as we go, put the questions in the comments. I'll stop. I'll go look at them from time to time. We can answer questions. That's not a problem. All right. So we said what we want to talk about today are actually the relational commitments in our life. Now, our research has shown that there's 10 relational commitments that really define what accountability is. And so that's what I want to share is the relational commitments that explain what accountability is. So here's the first 5. It's a commitment to what you value. So it's a commitment to the values. And what that says is, I'm going to live those values. I didn't just create a set of values and put them down on a piece of paper. I'm going to live the values. And in an organizational setting, it says, not only am I going to live the values as a leader, but I'm going to make sure that everyone lives the values, that the values will be lived fairly, that if someone is a high producer, that they don't get a free skate on living the values. Everyone lives the values. Because if, as a leader, I allow someone to stay in the organization that's not living the values, then they're not your values. You can't tell me that a value is your value if it's not being lived by everyone. And I know you're saying, Sam, everyone. Yes, everyone. And as a leader, you have the ability to do that. You have the ability to do that. Okay, so there's a commitment to leading people to their potential to be their best. And that's part of what leadership's about, helping them become their best. And that means finding out where people have the potential to be amazing, not just what they're good at. The ordinary leader finds out where someone's good at, they find out what they're good at, and they put them in that job. That's the ordinary leader. The accountable leader looks at that individual, gets to understand the character of that individual, and then says, you know what? This is an amazing individual. They could be contributing a lot to this organization. They have the potential for growth. And then you either train that person up, you give them the resources that they need, and you challenge them by putting them in a place where you believe that they could excel, where they create more value for them in their lives, and then accordingly, they create more value for the organization. That's the accountable leader, okay? And then there's a commitment to a safe place to work. Now, I'm not talking physical safety, I'm talking emotional safety, where people are free to share their opinion, where they are heard, where it's okay to disagree with the boss. Now, have any of you ever worked in an environment? Put down in the comments. Have you ever worked someplace where it wasn't okay to disagree with the boss, where if you spoke out, that what would happen is there would be negative repercussions, or maybe your opinion wasn't really listened to, you were marginalized. They said, yeah, everyone has a voice, but that you really weren't listened to. Have you ever experienced that? Because when that happens, that's not a safe place to work. That's not a safe place to work. Okay. Let's see, a commitment to it's all of us. Now, this is huge. And what this says is, if you fail, I fail. If you succeed, I succeed. Now, the weak leader is, it's always about them. No. You have to succeed for me to succeed. If you fail, I fail, which means I need to invest in your success because that's what I'm dependent upon. It's a different way of looking at things. And a commitment to stand with you when all hell breaks loose. And things go wrong in people's lives all the time. We face challenges. And when your leader is there for you, you know that. That's what builds loyalty. So those are 5 of those 10. The other 5 are a commitment to the truth. You know what? Lying, deception, and accountability can never coexist. If someone's an habitual liar, if they're known to be lying, they cannot be accountable. Cannot happen. And then you have to choose whether you want to associate with that individual. I know what my answer is. Commitment to the faults and failures as well as the opportunities and successes. And this is a leader that says, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm not great all the time. I'm not perfect all the time. I don't always get it right. And because I make mistakes, I know you're going to make mistakes. Nobody wants to work for someone who puts themselves out there as being perfect. Nobody wants that. But when I tell the people around me, you know what, I make mistakes. Matter of fact, if I make a mistake, I want you to let me know so that I can fix it and fix it fast. Wow. Then it's real people connecting with real people. You see, these build relationships. That's why they're called relational commitments. And when you build relationships with people, you are being accountable to them first, and you are inspiring them to want to be accountable. Okay, a commitment to sound financial principles. Yes, that is a relational commitment because it says, I'm not wasting money. I'm protecting assets that impact all of us, which means I'm looking out for you. That leader that's buying stuff, buying those paintings to put on the wall, they're not looking out for their people. They're looking out for how their office looks. That's not accountability. That's about me. That's not, it's all of us. Commitment to a good reputation. If I'm committed to a good reputation and I fight to build a good reputation, the people around me, they're going to want to protect that reputation. And that's a commitment. And the last one is a commitment to your word is your bond. If you say you're going to do something, then by golly, let's do it. That's what it's about. And these commitments, these aren't 10 commitments that I just made up. This is the result of serious research. And for the last over 12 years, we've been analyzing, we've developed 2 deep dive assessments. One that's a company cultural assessment where we help an organization look at their culture through the assessment. And the other is the personal assessment, the free one that's at amiaccountable.com. And we have thousands and thousands of responses. And we know that this is what defines accountability. It's making and keeping these commitments. Now, I want to go back to what we talked about. We talked about tactical commitments. Those are spoken. Relational commitments, those, for the most part, aren't spoken. It's not that they can't be, and it's not that sometimes they aren't, but they don't have to be. That's not what it's about. It's about making it and keeping it. And we make those commitments to ourselves, and we make the commitments to the people around us. And then our actions must align, and we keep those commitments. And in doing so, we build relationships. Accountability is keeping commitments to people. You'll never be accountable to someone that you don't value, that you don't like. And so building those relationships goes towards that. Okay. Jabril, great. I see that. Wow, Zach, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. Don't hesitate to spread the word and bring other people next time. Bring a friend. So let's go a little bit further, though. We had some questions that were sent in. I love questions. If you have questions, you can put them in the comments, or you can send questions anytime to pivotquestions.com. Pivotquestions.com. You send me questions during the week. The next week on the live stream, I'll address those questions. Something I want to share about these 10 commitments of accountability. I had someone reach out to me, a friend of mine, and I'd like to consider her a friend, and hopefully she considers me one. Emily reached out to me this week, and she was a little discouraged about voting. And how do you vote when there's so much negativity out there? And I said, well, you have to sift through that, and you have to be responsible to decide what is truth and what isn't truth. But one of the suggestions that I shared with Emily was, what I like to do is look at these 10 commitments of accountability and ask if they're in play. Because if they're not in play, the individual is not accountable. And I'm not going to vote for someone who's not accountable. Now, no one's perfect, and I get that. And I know that politicians many times, kind of want to show the numbers to make them look their very best and not show the numbers that don't put the glamour on them. But some people are living these commitments and some aren't. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But what I'm trying to get at is this. You can evaluate a leader by looking at and seeing if these commitments are in play. Is the leader living these commitments? And if they are, then there's going to be strong accountability. And if the leader isn't, then there's going to be a vast lacking in accountability. So these commitments are not just for us to look at what we're doing, but it helps us evaluate the world around us. Okay, so what are the questions? What do you look at this? You guys are connected. I love this. All right, questions that came in. And Christine asked this question. She sent in 3 questions. Let me put this up so you can see it. I love the topic of commitments to yourself. So often I think accountability is keeping your commitment to others only. You're right, for the choices and decisions we make define us. For people who want to improve on this, what is something practical you can do to get in the habit of checking yourself prior to a decision or a choice? Okay, so this goes to something that we are going to really be deep diving in when we launch our upcoming course called Pivot. And not going to go into a lot of that now, but it's coming shortly. And this connects to mindfulness. In other words, there is this moment of opportunity when an event happens, when we're faced with a decision, and we can make the decision to go this way or this way. We can react this way or react that way. And what happens is this moment in that space, how do we make a great decision? Here's what I suggest. Not only do we have these commitments to look back at, and can you say, well, does this align with these 10 relational commitments? Is it a commitment to it's all of us? Is it a commitment to the values? And you can go through and look at those. And if it aligns, it's probably going to be a pretty good decision. And then what I always do is I always look at how it connects directly to my values. Does the decision support my values? Because if the decision doesn't support my values, it's not a good decision. It has to align with the values. And you know what? Even if I'm going to offend somebody, if it aligns with my values, I have to do it. To give you an example, I was sitting across a dinner table one time from someone that was very high up in the strategic command. I'm not going to tell you exactly high up because it might give something away. But I will tell you this. He was questioning something one time, and he says, I don't know how that person even had access to the secret information, the top secret information anyway. He was only a junior college graduate. And I'm like, really? So you're telling me that the quality, the smarts of the individual, the capability of the individual is connected to their education. Education's important, don't get me wrong, but this person was limiting how they saw that individual based on where they went to school or what degree they had. Okay, so that's not a place to be, and so that's not living. Not only is that not living these 10 commitments, but that's not living your values. That goes against my values. And so the point of that, all of that is I had to say something. I had to say, wait a second. You're passing judgment on an individual based on their degree. You don't know why that's the degree they got. You don't know what their financial situation is. You don't know what their responsibility was in supporting their family. And you're making a judgment call on their character, on their ability, on whatever based on that. That's not right. Now, I realize that, what I follow the belief that what you allow in your space, you condone. And so I had to speak up. And I might have offended the individual, but the reality of the situation is I spoke up politely. I didn't get in their face. I said it right, but doggone it, that's my value. I'm going to live it. And so that's important. All right. So to me, with this question, I would say connect back to these relational commitments and always connect back to your values. Next question. Okay. Is there a question you should always ask yourself to check or weigh out what the best decision is in terms of accountability? Well, I think this goes back to what we just talked about. How does this connect to my values? Does it support my values? Does this contribute to a relationship? Does it take away from your relationship? I think that's critical. And I think that also the other question I would ask is simply this. I would ask, where are my values showing up? Where are they showing up? And I do this with organizations, do it with individuals as well. Where are your values showing up? Because if they're not showing up, then they aren't your values. And in any decision, are your values showing up? And then I had one more question Is there a feeling you get when you know you are being accountable to yourself? Is there a feeling you get? Well, let me put it to you this way. All my interactions with individuals, when we've sat down and we've worked out what their values are, really worked hard to identify their unique purpose, their mission, and they're on track and they're living this in their lives, there's this tremendous sense of fulfillment, and they know they're on the right track. You know that you're aligned. You know that you're moving in the right direction, Christine. And I think that it's like in your gut, something doesn't feel right. Something feels amiss. But when you're working on this and you're constantly trying to get better, and you study these relational commitments, you know what your values are, you're living them, you're asking yourself, you're getting up in the morning and you're reading one of your values, and maybe you're going and you're taking 2 minutes and you're thinking, okay, where did that value show up in my life in the last 48 hours? Knowing that it better be showing up. When you're doing those sorts of things, it's going to feel really, really good. I guarantee you that. Okay, Jabril, what do you have here? I've been sharing with my cousin in Sierra Leone, West Africa, what I've learned from you about the difference between accountability and responsibility. He said it has led to great conversations amongst his friends at the university he attends. Thank you. Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. And I'm glad you're sharing that. My mission is to build a more accountable world. And we do that by all of us coming together in this environment and working to be more accountable, build accountability in our lives, build accountability in organizations, but then sharing it with other people. And then the other thing that I would suggest is I've always felt that I learn more the more that I teach. And so when you share what you're learning here with other people, the act of teaching, that's bringing in and internalizing the message. And so you're going to get stronger and stronger just through that act of teaching. So that's good on you for that. All right, let's see. If you haven't taken the free accountability quiz, you can take it at amiaccountable.com. Don't hesitate to do that. And I think that you'll get some valuable information, and you will see where you stack up on these 10 relational commitments. And you'll get a free ebook download. I mean, a full book, not some little skinny thing. It's the full book. So look for that. Also, and share that with your friends. Get them involved. Get them checking how they are in their relational commitments. Build your circle of people around you to be accountable people. Help them out. Every Wednesday, 3:00 Eastern, 12:00 on the West Coast in the United States. I'm on live. I'm sharing. And if you have questions, put the questions down at pivotquestions.com so I can answer those questions. I want to answer those questions for you. Remember, you can connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn at Sam Silverstein. And next week, what we're going to do next week is we're going to start to talk about what's involved in the process of Pivot, this new course that I'm coming out with, because I'll give you an insight. Pivot is not changing what you do. And it's all around how you think. And we're going to go deeper into that next week, and I'm going to share on that. So I really appreciate that you were with me here today. I really appreciate that. Oh, someone showed up late. Hey, Michael, I know you're late. You can watch the recording. The recording will be available on LinkedIn. And of course, it's available on Facebook/MyPivotLife. So catch the recording, no problem whatsoever. I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want you to just step back and think about, are you bringing these relational commitments into your life? Are you modeling accountability at home for you, but your loved ones, the people around you? And then you take that to your teams. My mission is to build a more accountable world. The only way that I can do that is with your help. I appreciate you being here. I'll see you next week.